Good morning, hoppers. This is Mrs. Sutliff with your writing lesson for the day. Let's hop right in with our learning targets. Today, I will teach you to read your essay and reflect on what you do well and what you still need to work on. I will also remind you to look at your checklists, which we haven't been getting out and using very much lately, and make sure that you have a goal in mind. And actually, it's going to be 3 goals, and I'll explain that in a second. And then we're going to, for the bulk of writing time today, revise an essay with a goal in mind. And remember, revise is this part in the writing process where you clarify what you meant, you reorganize, maybe you need to move things around, you refine with very precise language, with very precise word choice, and you make sure that you said exactly what you meant to say, exactly the way you meant to say it. You might also find that while you're revising, you do some editing, because while you're reading it, you notice that you need to fix some spelling, or that you forgot a period at the end of that sentence, or whoops, I didn't capitalize the beginning of this sentence, or that you had improper grammar, or possibly, and this is a big one for essays especially, that you forgot some paragraphs. Okay? You all know that I've been reading your job essays, and I've been really looking at, how are my writers coming along? And I've noticed that you have really become essayists. Class, you are doing such a great job of designing an essay so that structurally it looks right, and even the content, what you're writing in your essay, is very strong. Your opinions are coming out and you're supporting those opinions with reasons. You should be proud of yourselves. I know that many of you might be wondering, well, now what should I be doing? And today I'm going to talk about how writers become self-motivated. Because writers don't always have a teacher sitting there telling them, now we'll do this, now we'll do that. Writers, you have to be your own teacher sometimes. You have to give yourself a self-assignment. You have to look at what you already have done. You have to think about what you still need to do. And you need to maybe give yourself a deadline. By the end of today, I will have this done. All right? And if that sounds hard, then just know that I have given you some tools that will help you to do just that. So today, writers, I want to teach you that one way that writers can figure out their plan and get parts of their writing done bit by bit, day by day, is to think back over everything they've done so far and everything they already know, and then make a plan for the upcoming parts of their writing. What do you still need to learn to do? What do you still need to do to finish this essay? Writers sometimes use charts. Sometimes they use their own writing to help them with this. Sometimes they use a writing buddy, which we will get to, maybe not today, but sometime in the near future. You have tools to help you do that. So let's take a look at some of them. Writers, this lesson is all about you holding yourself accountable. You making sure that you are going in the right direction. You making sure you know what I expect, that I can rely on you, that you are a responsible student. This is where you make yourself motivated. You understand your objective. What do you need to get done today? You are your own job captain. And you need to figure out what that means you'll be doing today. What is your job today? And guess what? Your job is not to sit there and stare at your computer screen. It is to be productive. And if you need to be productive every day, you have some tools, like I said, that will help you with this. All right, this is the first section of your checklist, and it's the structure section. And everybody today is going to pick one area to focus on, whether it's overall, or as your lead, or as your transitions, or your ending, or your organization in general. And you're going to ask yourself, which of these things do I need to work on the most? I'll show you how to do that with your writing. I actually have some examples that we'll be looking at. Okay, this is the development section of the rubric, and there's just 2 areas. So for development, what I actually want everyone to look at is these little boxes right here. Okay, one of these is going to be your goal. And remember I said you're going to have 3 goals? You need to pick one of these areas, and there's 6 of them to pick from that you don't yet do very well and you want to work on and get better at. Okay, in order to do this, guess what? You have to read your checklist. So I hope you have it out and you're looking at it, and you can give yourself a star in front of the one that you think you need to work on the most. And last but not least, this is the language convention section. And since there's only 2, actually I'm going to have you focus on one of these 3 areas. Hopefully you see that there's 3 different areas where you could focus on with language conventions. You just need to pick one of them. Okay, you're going to become your own job captain. You're going to give yourself a goal, and you're going to work during this writing workshop time to get your essay up to standard with those goals. Alright, I'll show you what I mean here with some examples. This is a cats are the best pet essay that someone was drafting, and right away I'm noticing excellent structure. Look at that. This person has very good paragraph organization. However, when I look at the content of this essay, I notice that there is something missing from the structure section of the opinion writing checklist. And if you have yours out right now, you'll probably notice that within structure, ending is one of the areas that we need to think about. Okay, ending, it says, I wrote an ending for my piece in which I restated and reflected on my claim, perhaps suggesting an action or a response based on what I had written. Where are the sentence starters? Where is the repeat of the thesis statement? Where is the ending? This person needs to work on that. Okay, and if you really look at it, you can see even that this person could probably add some sentence starters to her introduction or his introduction as well. So I'm going to check what it says for lead. Lead is the same as your introduction, just so you know. Okay, so it says on my checklist, I wrote a few sentences to hook my reader, perhaps by asking a question, explaining why the topic mattered, telling a surprising fact, or giving background information. Those are the sentence starters. And then you also need to state the claim. This writer has the claim, but no sentence starters. Okay. So there you have it. There's one little item that I figured out that I need to work on, and I'm going to go work on it now. Alright, let's take a look at another essay example. This one is about being the custodian, closet monitor, and librarian, and I'm going to think about development. And I know that might seem kind of crazy because if you look at it, you can see this person really needs work on how they're structuring their essay. Where are the paragraphs? We really need to fix that, but I'm going to ignore that right now, and instead I'm going to really think about development, and I'm going to find something that this writer could do better with the ideas in the essay. Okay, the part that I found that this writer really needs to work on is under craft. Listen and I'll read that part of the rubric or the checklist to you. It says in the checklist, I made deliberate word choices to convince my readers, perhaps by emphasizing or repeating words that would make my readers feel emotions. How convincing is this essay? Where are the repeating words that really help me see what the writer is trying to say? So let's just do this custodian paragraph right here. And I'll show you, I'll read it out loud and I'll give you some of the repeated wording that this writer is missing that will help really start to convince me. And And if you're curious, this is on page 21 in your purple booklet where you can find this. Okay, so one reason why I would like to be the custodian is that it sounds like the most important job. For example, if someone doesn't remember to put the trash out, then the trash will still be in the trash cans tomorrow. So, I have a good memory and I will remember to do that. Also, I like to clean up messes, and especially the last reason why I think the custodian is a job for me is that I like to be active, so I will clean up a lot of messes. Okay, hopefully you saw the repeated wording that I was using. Words like one reason, another reason, especially. This one is really good for if you're trying to convince me about your favorite job or your most important reason, depending on the topic of your essay. Without these key repeating words, you don't really feel like your paragraph is glued together quite right. It doesn't feel as cohesive, all right? And therefore, it's not as convincing. So, check for those repeated words. And hey, this is just one goal for one writer. You might have a completely different goal under development, and you'll have to really think about how can I accomplish this, okay? All right, here is one last example, and I'm going to do language conventions for this example. And just looking at it, I don't even have to read it. I see 3 different places in this essay where there's underlined in red, and we all know that means check your spelling. All right, now just because it's not underlined in red doesn't mean that there's no spelling errors either, because you could have written down the word that you thought you were trying to spell, but it actually turns out that wasn't what you meant. All right, for example, right here, there's no spelling error. There's just a missing space after the word fast before the word I. And memory, very, very close, but I bet if this student right-clicks on this word, memory, the correct way to spell it would be one of the options to go ahead and fix that spelling error. And then I know this person meant to say options. That's a very good try for how to spell options, not quite right. So let's right-click on it and choose options from the drop-down menu so that we can spell it correctly. Okay. Now, depending on the state of your essay, you might pick to also think about punctuation. Just because it's not on your checklist doesn't mean that you're no longer required to end every sentence with the punctuation mark and capitalize the first letter of the next sentence. I'm noticing that this writer is forgetting a lot of end punctuation for the end of paragraphs, but in the middle of paragraphs they did pretty good. Okay, it's really super important that you continue to do those things that second graders are expected to be able to do. Here we have another period that's not at the end of a paragraph, but in conclusion, now you know why I want to be the technology manager. That's the end of a sentence. I realize that if I don't get that job, I'm okay with the other options. Again, that's the end of your thought. That's where the periods go. And in this case, I was already capitalized, so we don't have to fix that. Hopefully this is sounding familiar and it's not sounding overwhelming. You need to read your essay with structure in mind, and then read it again with development in mind, and then read it a third time with language conventions in mind. Work to really get your essay up to 4th grade level standards, using that checklist to help you be your own job captain and find your own goals that you really need to work on. All right, here are your directions just in case you missed them. First, read the checklist. You have to know what you're supposed to be doing, and you won't know if you don't read the checklist. And please, please, please make sure that you read the opinion writing checklist, not the narrative or the information. We are doing opinion writing right now. Make sure you have 3 goals, 1 for each category: structure, development, and then conventions. Pick something that you really need to work on. Be a responsible job captain. Don't just pick whatever because that's easy and I know I already spelled everything right. No, look for the one that you really need to work on. Then pick an essay that is really ready for revising. Don't pick an essay that you're still brainstorming or an essay that you're still drafting. Save that for later, okay? Pick one that you think is really finished. Read it 3 times. Each time you read it, you're going to think of one of your goals. Read it once, looking for structure. Do I have paragraphs? Did I put the right information in the right paragraphs? Is it organized? Okay, then read it again, thinking about your development. Do you have good ideas? Do you need to add to your claim? Do you need to add to your evidence? Do you need to be more convincing? Then look at your conventions. Oh, and by the way, you can look at conventions first, or structure first, or development first. Whichever one is distracting you the most, that's probably the one you should focus on first, all right? Just focus on one goal at a time each time you read through. Don't let yourself get distracted. Like I said, pick the one that's distracting you the most or that is obviously needing to be worked on the most and do that goal first. Okay? Make sure that every time you read it, you make some changes and you make some corrections today. All right? That's your direction. Hopefully, you'll have plenty to do. Hopefully, you have an essay that's really ready to be revised. And you can use this time to really reread and rethink and refine your writing with some revising. Hoppy writing hoppers, let's hop to it.